Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I am Prince Magnum. Welcome to Two Sides of the Same Coin. Today we're going to talk about how brakes work. We're going to talk about the front disc brake conversion that's going on with Project Spirit, and some of the other things that you will see kind of happening as we get closer to time. I have all the parts. Right now it's just a matter of getting the right shop to do to do this right. And one of the things that you need to understand is that I've never done this before, and I don't trust myself enough to do this. I know how it all goes on and everything, but it's one of those things that I would really prefer a shop to do this, because when it comes to suspension like this, I don't trust myself. We all have our, where we're really good, old shade tree mechanics like myself and hot rodders and gearheads, just like me. We have our things that we're really good at, and then we have these things that we're not so good at. It's very rare, even today, that unless you're ASE certified, you can't do it all. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. We're going to basically talk about how brakes work, and I basically have set up kind of a tutorial sort of thing. We're going to talk about how the brakes are going to work on Project Spirit and how they already work on Project Vera. We're even going to talk a little bit about how drum brakes work there here at the end. I don't have any visual aids for that, I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to pantomime that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about modern day brakes and things that you need to know so you don't end up in an accident, okay? And I've even got a little bit of stuff to help you out with that. This might get a little long-winded, but I will do my best to try to keep it under 15 minutes. But we'll see how this goes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut away and get to the tutorial.
Okay, let's take a look at what we have. This is your standard run-of-the-mill rotor that you would typically find on Mustangs, Mavericks, just different Fords like that from back in the day. These are not light, they're actually very heavy. And this is basically the brake caliper. Now it'll basically sit on top of the rotor, kind of like that, attached to the spindle, and then of course there's a series of nuts and everything that kind of hold the rotor on the spindle. Basically there's a nut that holds it, and there's some wheel bearings that go inside. We'll talk about those here in just a moment. But like I said, that's very heavy. This is a 5-lug pattern. Oftentimes people think that the Mavericks had 4-lug, but I've not seen one yet. Right there is your brake bleeder, and that's the piston that compresses the brake pads. Okay, and basically, like I showed you, it'll sit kind of like that on top of the rotor. Obviously, not touching it, that'll tear something up. And that is a finned rotor. Okay, and basically, right now, I'm just grabbing out the brake pads, and I'll show you how they kind of slide in there. I think I got this right, but basically they'll kind of go in there. That's the two different types, and they'll just slide inside, kind of like, yeah. I had to relook at it. Wait a minute. There you go. And then basically it'll go on, kind of like that. And when basically when you push down on the brake, the piston, the fluid goes from the master cylinder through the proportioning valve all the way down and compresses that and squeezes on top of that rotor, and that's what stops the car. And basically we'll have this on both sides. All right, so it will still be manual brakes, which that's just one of those things. But yeah, that's how it all goes together. And very simple design, very simple, very easy to maintain. Those, rotors are sometimes get a little pricey. These are about $50 a piece at the local AutoZone, and that's one of the hardware kits that we actually picked up from AutoZone, and then we got another one because, well, the one from AutoZone briefly got misplaced, but we haven't. That's all that matters. We have them. Any shop that decides to work on, they can decide the one they want to use. So that's completely and totally up to them. That is the master cylinder. Now I've already painted it the Ford blue, okay, and we're going to do the same to the calipers. None of that red stuff like everybody else is doing. So that's basically, how it's, what it's going to end up looking like, and that's what's going to show through is that same Ford blue. Um, Now we have to change the master cylinder because the pressure that goes down to the brakes is a little bit different than the pressure that went to the drum brakes. So there's different pressures, and we even have to replace the rubber brake lines. I don't think we'll need to worry about the stainless steel lines because, shoot, I've watched people fire 22 shells through them. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, these are and these here are the wheel bearings, and these basically allow the rotor to ride on the spindle without it catching. And basically it just rolls like that, and they'll be packed with wheel bearing grease. Just very, very simple stuff that, that we've used all these years. Basically a race will fit in there. These already have the races fitted in, so it just goes right down in there, and that's what causes it to slide. And it just spins in there just like that, right on top of the spindle. Very simple, very easy to, very easy to work with. Just pretty simple design. The backside will have a different size, but yeah, just right down in there. Princess Faye's operating the camera. And she just wanted to get a close-up of it. I don't know why. It works, But I'm going to grab, in this next moment, you're going to see me grab the back one. And again, it's already got a race for the backside. And that's it. That's pretty much it. And it too will be packed with grease. And then flip that over, very heavy again. And then it just, wheel bearing slides right in there, just like that, spins around. By the way, when races go bad in these, they're so much fun to to beat out. You have to use sometimes you have to use a chisel. Actually, I've never seen them where you didn't have to use a chisel and beat them out of there. But going back in, it's not that hard. So, it's real easy to fix. I've done them before, just no fun. And basically, we'll put all that stuff up, and I mean, even though it's heavy, even though my left hand is bad, it's still easy to flip it over if you got a good grip. So that's it. That's as simple as it gets. Don't get any easier than that. All right, we're going to get back to me yapping on camera.
All right, there was your tutorial. All right, let's talk a little bit about the drum brakes that are already on Project Spirit. The difference is that, obviously, with disc brakes, it squeezes, on that disc, and kind of like a bicycle. With drums, there's like a cylinder inside, and whenever you push down, obviously the master cylinder pushes the brake fluid down to the wheel cylinder, and the brake cylinder, and it expands out and it pushes these brake shoes out and compresses, basically squeezes against this giant drum that stops it. Well, the problem with drum brakes is they heat up very fast, and because of this, there will be times I'll be driving down the road and go to put the brakes on a little hard. Well, one side will get really hot while the other one doesn't, so it'll pull one way or the other. So it's a little unpredictable because of this. And because of this unpredictability, I like the drums, but just because of that unpredictability, and it uses a lot of springs and everything else, there's a lot of weight to drum brakes, and just overall, this will be a major improvement for her stopping capabilities. So that's one of the main reasons why. And because of this unpredictability as well, people cannot drive. Let me show you a couple of clips.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that? What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Do you see what I mean? I was even able to edit in something, some humor factor in here. But the fact of the matter is, people do not know how to drive. And this is, just, just yesterday I released the video showing how badly people drive on the highway. And I know it's taken a few views. If it's taken a few views, that means there are people who are going to be talking about it, and people are still driving like this. I need to ensure that Project Spirit doesn't take a dent or a ding and end up killing somebody at the same time because they can't drive. I don't want to be a part of somebody's suicide. So, now, let's talk briefly about modern brakes. There's something that you need to know about modern brakes. Most modern brakes still, they use the disc brake setup, but they have analog brake systems. Now, I've briefly preluded to this, and let me explain to you how this works. With the old brakes, like what's on Project Spirit, Project Vera, when you slam on the brakes, they lock up, your car comes to a screeching halt. Now, some years back, some genius got the idea to add this analog brake system on. The problem, what it was designed to do is it was a safety feature. And what happened is that people in wet weather, they would lock up the brakes and they would hydroplane. Or in snowy weather, they would just slam on the brakes and the car would spin out of control. So the idea was to put this system on that would cause the brakes to pulse for you. And in the old days, an experienced driver knew when you were in a situation like that, you gently pumped the brakes. That's where a lot of people get the misconception that manual brakes, you have to pump them. That's where they get that total misconception. Manual brakes just means you have to push down harder. But because of this, young drivers would go, before analog brake systems, would slam on the brakes and the car would spin out of control. They'd wreck, This is where some of our classics went. Well, the modern analog brake systems today, the big problem with them happens to be that they're prone to fail. One of three things usually happen, okay? Either A, I've seen where someone went to, put on the brakes and all of a sudden the brakes locked and they wouldn't unfreeze and had to go to a shop. Usually had to be towed in. Brakes would not move. I've seen where the system, the analog brake system would fail and basically the brakes would work like a normal old style brake system without analog brake systems. But more often than not, I have actually seen where the brake systems fail and you didn't have brakes. And I've heard of a lot of people getting hurt because of this. So, do yourself a favor. If you have a modern analog brake system, please do not do what this person does in this next clip.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Slow down. Plan your stops, okay? Do not just fly up on a stop and slam on the brakes, because if that analog brake system decides to fail and you have no brakes whatsoever, you will wreck, you will die, you could kill somebody else. And this was just me rolling down the road again. Thank you, thanks to the Spirit Cam again, catching what you all are doing wrong. So, because of drivers like you have seen in the clips and in one of the last videos, we have to, I'm doing a full upgrade because people can't drive today. So that's where we're at in all of this. I hope y'all learned a little something. Some of it might have been rambling and sometimes I tripped over myself, but hey, that's okay. That's part of the Prince Magnum channel because I'm still, I'm human. You're not going to get a perfect one every time. So that brings us to the end of this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out immensely. you know, we're still getting this thing off the ground. Excuse me. I was eating good food. And as usual, like in any of my videos, get out there and work on a project. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. And above all, if nobody has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.